FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Uruguay. This is Group C. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Glenn Davis. Alongside me, former U.S. international and two-time gold medalist Angela Huckley. The United States looking to get off and running here against Cameroon in Group C. And it is a tournament that is held every 2 years. And of course, Angela, the United States, a very well-prepared team under Mark Carr, wanting to get off on a good start here.
Wanting to get off on a good start and also potentially make history. The United States has not won a Women's World Cup at this U-17 level. So fantastic opportunity for all of these ladies today.
Mark Carr, the U.S. coach, has spent almost 4 years with this group. Cameroon, on the other hand, coached by Stefan Ndanze, 35 years of age. 6 of the current squad that will play against the U.S. today will be ones that played in the last Women's World Cup at this level. Mark Carr, as you see there, took over in April 2016. But there is a level of importance on the U.S. winning the Under-17 Women's World Cup, also in the context of player development. There's Ndanze, who is their manager, said, quote unquote, "I'm not here to mess around." He is noted as a disciplinarian. 2016 was their maiden voyage, losing all 3 group matches in Jordan. Sunshine Fontes is one to keep an eye on here. She is the Under-17 women's national team all-time leading scorer. Cameroon with the green tops. Your referee is Casey Reibold from Australia. Windy conditions here, the U.S. in the dark blue. It is day 2 of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup in Uruguay. Game on here in Colonia del Sacramento, Uruguay. It is one of 4 matches here on day 2. And the United States hoping to get off and running here at the Estadio Alberto Supici. Of course, Angela, the U.S. In a 4-3-3 setup, but it's a team that can attack you in a variety of ways.
And really, this team, I'm so excited to watch and see how they've been able to come together. They've had a lot of international friendlies already. They've had probably some of the best experience out of any of the other countries in this tournament to play and compete at an international level already with such different dynamic personalities. See how they can all put this together. One of the things we've heard Mark Carr say leading up to this tournament too is to see how they are able to think for themselves. They're clearly a U.S. team with athleticism, but having that culture, really wanting to encourage these women to play and think for themselves on the field and figure things out at a high tactical level.
U.S. pressing the attack here. Of course, it's a squad that is very team-oriented, very family-oriented. That's one of the words that many of the players have mentioned here, but they have been on a long journey, and it all gets going here today. 17 youth clubs around the United States represented on this U.S. roster. There is Fontes from Hawaii. He had 20 goals in 2018, played for the Hawaii Rush. And the first ever young lady to make a Youth World Cup roster from Hawaii. So she is one of the talents to keep an eye on here today. And how much of a litmus test or a statement is this about player development in the United States when we watch the U.S. today against Cameroon?
Well, I think this is huge. This is one of the first opportunities that a young female will be able to play at this level in our country. So to have this experience at this world stage is fantastic, not just for the experience, but also for the development of where they can get to understand that there's another level inside of them to compete at.
U.S. will go all the way back to their talented goalkeeper, the captain, Angelina Anderson. 14 appearances for her. She has grown dramatically, improved her kicking game, according to the manager, Mark Carr. Cameroon at times unpredictable, Very tough to scout, tough to get footage on, according to Mark Carr. And the U.S. will get the goal kick here. Driving it forward there was Ndome, who's only 15 years of age for Cameroon. 4 minutes in here.
And that makes it really challenging, too, when you're trying to prepare for a tournament and really prepare for a game, not having the ability to scout and understand your opponent clearly. And really, that unpredictability makes it very challenging. But in the pure basis of it, you want to stick to your game, and that's something that Mark Carr has really honed in. They've played only one system, trained that one system in the 4-3-3, something that these young ladies can get familiar with, but understanding what the game provides them and being able to adapt to it as well.
Good look at Moncom. She's a 16-year-old off the throw here. And out for the goal kick it goes. 21 players on this roster, 12 seniors in high school, 8 in the middle of their junior year. One, Trinity Byers, is a sophomore, but in our conversations with Mark Carr, he says this is a very prepared, balanced, athletic team, competitive in the spirit of all U.S. teams that we have seen over the years, but one that can also beat you individually through combination play and collective team play.
Yeah, and I think what's great in terms of what Mark Carr has done and really tried to form in terms of his roster for this team is that diversity of style of player, to be able to have different situations and players that can adjust in the game. But then the challenge, right, is bringing them all together to play under that one system.
Driving forward down the right side here was Natacha Alam for Cameroon. By the way, Cameroon has come out here pressing, do not seem fearful at all of the United States, and have decided to confront them very high up the field. Picked off there by Anderson. Danville, California, the Mustang Soccer Club will knock this one over the halfway line. And the U.S. will be able to get out of their own half of the field here now, 6 minutes in.
That's something that Angelina Anderson brings from the goal, is really being able to set play as a goalkeeper because of the strength and the distance she's able to make with those types of kicks. Really getting in behind the defense. I think this will just probably be the first of many of physical play. Seeing Sunshine Fontes there getting tangled up.
She has had 5 multiple goal games. And here's the U.S. now trying to provide some pressure of their own here. And they've won it back in a very good area here. It's headed forward here. It's a chance to make it 1-0. The offside flag is up. But a good response from the United States after getting some real pressure from Cameroon.
And I think that's going to be very key for this team, to be able to put that pressure and also just the recognition of when to go. We saw both of the players there, Fontes up there as well, putting that pressure on to going together. Unfortunate for them that it was offside.
Very tough group the United States has been put in with Germany and the Korea DPR. Here's the United States now, a chance to make it 1, and off her line with a sweeping play is Onomo. There's an empty net. And Cameroon will avoid the danger. U.S. growing in a bit of confidence here. Another ball into the box. Onomo is there.
It's nice recognition by Onomo coming off her line there. He had 2 U.S. players looking for that goal.
We have a trio of very talented strikers for the United States: Linehan, Fontes, and Caniff. All tremendous individually in their own right. Cameroon now building it up through midfield. And Dome knocked it out wide. Morris went to ground there. There's a quick throw in. Keep an eye on Kameni up front wearing number 7. Big switch of play here, but what we do see is the tremendous athleticism and the lack of fear of the United States, certainly from Cameroon here. Dangerous ball into the box. Trying to spear it away. Stode. Bit of a chaotic start, but you would expect a few nerves with under 17 players.
Definitely at the start of any match for any level, really just getting those nerves out. But Cameroon not sitting back, as you mentioned, Glenn, really putting a lot of pressure, and I think actually the majority of the play has been in the U.S. defensive third. I think one thing too, though, is both teams just being able to use the width a little bit more, still feeling things out and trying to get a rhythm here. But there's definitely some space on the outside. We've seen a few switches that have really started to open up the space a bit, create some better space for attack.
Bruce at times having to play a little bit direct here to get things started. Artuya. There's number 10 for Cameroon. And the U.S. now trying to build it through some confident passing. A beautiful idea there, a diagonal run being made. And that's Peyton Linehan, and she has got great movement and mobility. And we've seen that type of slash and run from her before. To be a free kick here for the U.S. Going to ground here is Sophia Jones from Menlo Park, California.
Yeah, nice little play there by the U.S. Good one-touch rhythm. And Jones doing a nice job of maintaining possession, even though she received that foul as well.
Coach Mark Carr calling Sophia Jones a soccer junkie. One of the real intellects of this team. Stode off the free kick. Glancing header's going to go safely into the arms of Onomo.
Where the U.S. is historically, we have very traditional athletic teams. Cameroon is a very athletic team as well, so I expect to see even more physicality coming into play in this match.
Smith Hunter misjudging that long ball. It's Cameroon now in the attack. Off the turn is Nga, and shot is rifled wide. Again, that's a bit of a warning shot across the bow here. Cameroon has come to play here against the United States under-17s.
Yeah, and you can see Nga right there, just trying to motivate her team even more with that shot. Really just that direct play coming from Cameroon. Getting the ball out wide. We see here again that pressure by the U.S. Just a hair offside. Here we see Nga, just a nice little touch to the inside to try and find some space. The United States is not able to step up quick enough. Like I said, he just trying to put a little pressure, just barely misses the goal.
So again, here's this high pressure now coming from Cameroon, which is forcing the United States to try and play through a beautiful control there from Caniff. Fira is the captain wearing number 6 in midfield. This is Cameroon on the attack, and the U.S. will sweep this out of there. Get their rhythm here, and it's broken up again. And launched all the way back to Angelina Anderson. Cameroon got past Nigeria dramatically in qualifiers on away goals, breaking Nigeria's streak of qualifying for every Women's World Cup at all levels. So they're here representing the African Football Confederation with 2 other teams, South Africa and Ghana. Ghana getting a 5-0 win already in this tournament over the host nation, Uruguay.
That's something that's also, when you look at the other teams in your group, just to be able to get those 3 points early, your first game, is such an important confidence and motivational boost for you, especially when you're in such a challenging group. The U.S. also having Korea, DPR, and Germany, 2 tough teams.
Big tackle stepping up there was Florence Fanta. This is a bit of a tactical challenge here for the United States to figure out early. Makes this pretty fascinating because it is a team that, according to the manager Mark Carr, is one that is good at problem solving, and they've got a good challenge here to start off their tournament in Uruguay. They
do, and Cameroon does seem to be very disciplined. That's been something that's been ingrained in them from that gentleman right there, Luzana from Cameroon. and still very varied in their attack. Possession, going inside to the outside, but also playing some direct balls. Again, that's the unpredictability, makes it very tough and challenging to defend.
Mark Carr, born in London, resides in Austin, Texas, has been with this group of young ladies for a number of years now, was an assistant at UCLA with Jill Ellis. Coach at Lone Stars in Austin, Texas, and of course has weekly conversations with Jill Ellis. U.S. national team coach, U.S. getting a 1-0 win at the senior level over Scotland yesterday. Here is Fontenay for Cameroon, goes back to Anomo. U.S. trying to provide some of their own pressure here. Good work not to allow them out. Pressing play coming from Maya Doms.
And again, just that pressure the U.S. is starting to put originally there from Caniff, and then Doms is really putting Cameroon under. Caniff also being one of the most, the only player to be in a 2000 U-17 level World Cup previously.
Good look at Angelina Anderson. She's become quite the leader for the under-17 U.S. squad. Farimatu Artuyap. Captain's armband being worn by Viviane Mafira. She did play in Jordan in 2016. Cameroon in that tournament in group play lost all 3 matches, so they're certainly looking to build on that.
Quite different than the U.S. team. Cameroon having 5 players who previously had this World Cup experience. The U.S. only having that 1 player in Caniff. So definitely being able to bring that into this tournament, as you said, learning from those losses, potentially having a better run this time.
Stode went back to the goalkeeper, Angelina Anderson. The U.S. have had to absorb some huge injuries to big leaders and very experienced players. We'll get back to that in a second, because here's Cameroon. And Dome will knock it inside. Unga, who has shown some danger. Sophia Jones back to Anderson. Still trying to get those 3 very talented and mobile strikers into this game.
And I think the U.S. is still trying to find the game a little bit. And perhaps a little bit of still of the nerves, and maybe even due to some of that experience that Cameroon has over the United States with some of the players previously playing at this level. But definitely Cameroon having a bit more of that edge right now.
Getting into the story of Kate Weisner, Kennedy Wesley, and Lynn Godfrey, who all are missed due to injury and ACL injuries. It's a loss of 78 caps to injury from this team.
Wow.
But as Mark Carr said, next woman steps up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a testament to the depth of this team as well. And I think we still haven't seen some of the bright shining elements that this team really contribute. We talk about players like Sunshine Fontes. Mark Carr said the ball gets to her feet and the game comes to life.
Here is Unga now. She has been very dangerous so far. This time Sophia Jones there to clean it up for the U.S. We're going to try to build out, but again, this immediate pressure here is posing some problems for the United States 18 minutes in. Absolutely fascinating to see where player development is around the world and getting a snapshot of it with these teams in this under-17 Women's World Cup. Cameroon, top of the box now. This is a long-range hit. That'll get pulled wide out for the goal kick for the U.S. here 19 minutes in. Has been calm with that offering. So with the U.S. under this sort of pressure right now, is it basically their will to play out of the back and build the game against the pressing team? Should they go a little more direct? What's your thought on situations like this?
I think for a team like this, having a little bit more of that possession and that build-up is going to definitely help with their confidence and really build a momentum. Cameroon still putting U.S. under tremendous pressure. It's being very disruptive to the U.S. in the ability to actually put and string those passes together.
U.S. wanting a handball, not going to get it. They must play on here. Sophia Jones now. They can break that initial pressure. There should be a tremendous amount of space, and this is a better move here from the U.S. Smith Hunter now. From the Rain Academy in Seattle, Washington, hits a long direct ball, and it'll go back to Onomo. Kayla Gresti knocking that forward from FC Stars from Swampscott, Massachusetts. Off the turn here, Sunshine Fontes. As they cut it back on her right, some good defending there as Cameroon recovers here. And the U.S. will shield this out to the first corner of this match, 21 minutes in, but Sunshine Fontes showing she is dangerous.
Nice little look for the U.S. there, and clearly with the last couple of plays being so direct, you can tell the United States is trying to catch Cameroon's back line, pushing up a little bit higher, just playing those direct balls, using someone like Fontes to get behind.
Now, the U.S. has provided variety off their set pieces and corners. Let's see what they do here. Players getting into the 6-yard box now after lining up around the penalty spot. So tons of players inside the 6-yard box in front of Onomo. U.S. off the corner. They'll play it short. It's a good shooting opportunity here. It's hit and chested away by Cameroon. Some wonderful variety there. A little sleight of hand coming from the U.S. U.S. are in here. Player is down, which has kept them onside. Off the post. Second chance. It's 1-0 United States. The official will get the goal to the wonderment of Stefan Enzana.
Well, I think just a little bit of confusion there from Cameroon. Player down. United States having a nice set piece opportunity off that corner, and you can see a defender down, but just getting this ball, official getting this shot initially blocked, and then having the rebound to be able to bury it in the back of the net, having that concentration. Well, there's a little bit of chaos going on right now, but she stays with it even after having her first shot blocked, and puts the United States up 1-0.
Yeah, I think the word you used, confusion. The player down for Cameroon actually kept Mia Fischel onside. If she were not laying down inside the box, she would have been in an offside position. But to her credit, no hesitation, continues to play out, gets the rebound after the save from Onomo. The United States are up. Mia Fischel has done it, and she is from the San Diego Surf in San Diego, California, her 6th goal for the under-17s.
You know, you have to continue to play until that whistle is blown. So for Cameroon, actually, you see the defenders stopped playing. Fischel did not, and that was the reason why she got that goal.
It's the kind of start you want, especially after taking a lot of disruptive pressure from Cameroon.
Absolutely. Cameroon was definitely in that attacking third, putting the United States under pressure. But that's all it takes. And actually coming off a very nice corner kick and set piece by the United States, I think really started that and allowed the opportunity for that goal to be scored.
Yeah, love the deception off.
Love that.
It's interesting how a whole group of players moved into the 6-yard box, kind of drawing attention, and
took the attention away, got the shot off, and then really able to counterattack.
so a nice look there at Smith Hunter. Smith Hunter, the right back for the U.S. wearing number 4. What an incredible recovery she has had from an ACL injury. That was in March, and here she is in November, playing in the Under-17 Women's World Cup. That's called fast-tracking an injury and getting back on the playing field.
Talk about discipline and motivation. Being able to do that quickly from such a huge injury reminds me of a Shannon McMillan doing the same thing back in the 2003 World Cup. Had an ACL injury, got herself back within 6 months, made the roster, and contributed to that World Cup team.
Another one of the legendary U.S. women's national team players alongside Angela Buckless. Sophia Jones trying to come out of there. She's with the San Jose Earthquakes Academy from Menlo Park, California. More pressure coming from Cameroon. Let's see how this goal affects both of these teams. Switch of play. Barimatu into the box. Kameni's there. And this blast to go off the outside of the right foot there of Ikoso. But Barimatu making some things happen here for Cameroon.
She's been very active on that right side especially, but very confident on the ball. It's a good defensive play there by Agressetti too, just to recover, clear that ball out.
The goal scorer official trying to get into that tackle. This is some work to be done here. Good tracking back there from McKenna Morris from Germantown, Maryland. But Angelina Anderson in goal here has had to be very alert here.
Say very alert, and also her teammates are really using her a lot, playing that ball back. I wonder, just pushing her defense up a bit more and the players into the other attacking field.
Sunshine Fontes now. Here is the leading scorer for the U-17 women's national team for the United States. 4 groups, 4 teams, 16 total teams, 3 sites here in Uruguay, and the top 2 teams will advance to the quarterfinals. Mark Carr knows getting early points here against Cameroon is incredibly important in a group with Germany and Korea, and of course that is not lost on Stefan Nzanza, the coach of Cameroon as well.
Still a lot of games to be played right now. And after that goal was scored, Cameroon is still putting pressure under the United States.
Does not seem to have affected them at all. U.S. will get the throw here. Peyton Linehan still trying to get involved here, has been so impressive for the U.S. Not sure that was a foul on Uga, but it'll be a free kick for the United States. She has had her moments of being dangerous here in the first half.
I think after that goal, there's a little bit of still left over from being upset from that one.
Nzana, known as an authoritarian, disciplinarian, but was quoted as saying, look, it's the talents of the players that draws me to them. They were in Brazil prior to this training, played against Corinthians under-20 team, played Brazil there and lost 6-0 to Brazil. But they did 3 weeks of training there, met the ambassador of Cameroon, and then made their way here to Uruguay.
nice job of drawing that foul with dangerous position.
Dabda called for the foul. States lining a number of players up on the edge of the 6-yard box, a couple at the penalty spot. Peyton Linehan to deliver here. And we did see some variation off the corner. Let's see what type of surprising element the U.S. potentially has here. Linehan to deliver.
Interesting how the United States is set up right now too. Just players in a variety of locations.
Kind of staggered throughout the penalty area. Linehan looked it off. There was a lot of movement. And this time we'll go towards the back post, and a little bit of scary handling there from Onomo, who recovers in goal for Cameroon.
Not a whole lot of players putting pressure on Onomo there. Was able to hold that one off, but clearly the United States looking to play that short ball again. That was so successful in their corner kick before.
Cameroon top of the box here now. Had played a short ball off there, but again, they look dangerous. They look one pass away from it. The United States will go direct here and get driven right back into their half of the field. There's a big tackle there from Stode. And the U.S. will get another free kick here. And you begin to remind yourself of emotional control at the under-17 level.
And also picking up that card. Chanko just getting tough challenge. Good call by the referee. Tackles Dom's there. But Dom's doing a nice job too, also just shielding her off. And really, that's probably the reason she was able to draw that foul.
Now Cameroon's got different names on the back of their jerseys that are not applying necessarily to the graphics. So Chanko, her last name Sinje. This is Onomo. Back to Maya Dams. We were told by Coach Mark Carr that she's a number 10 type, a real leader of this team, but has really improved the defensive side of her game as well. Oh, here's the United States now. Offside flag is up on Fontes after that touch. And that's a moment where maybe Peyton Linehan sees her in an offside position and goes herself.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, just going ahead and looking for that opportunity herself, 1v1, going against the grain, defense on their heels. Nice opportunity. This has happened a couple times now for the U.S., so just that direct style of play to see here, maybe even just taking the ball one touch past the defender. And also perhaps the recognition too, Fontes just pulling her run away to create that space.
Big switch of play over the top. It's not a bad ball. It's turned the U.S. defense. Great work there by Stode. She is the leader in minutes played, plays for Top Hat in Atlanta, Georgia, and appears today for the 19th time for the United States. Chance here for Cameroon off her line. There's a second ball here. U.S. clearing off the line twice by McKenna Morris. It's a bit of pinball wizardry in the penalty area. But the U.S. lucky not to concede here to Cameroon, who continue to put the pressure on despite being down a goal here in the first half.
Talk about this team being a family unit. This is what's showing up right now on the field for the United States. Cameroon playing a nice ball in. Anderson doing a nice job of stepping up initially, but it's McKenna who's on that back line. McKenna Morris saving the ball from going into goal and equalizing the game. Nice job by Morris.
How much would you say Cameroon has taken the United States away from their purpose of play here today, and maybe how has the U.S. adjusted?
I think that whenever you put pressure on a defense, it really disrupts the flow of play, and I think the United States hasn't quite figured out how to solve that. Being able to get those touches in and around, build up the play. Things have been a little bit more direct, and there's still a lot of space. Things are playing very narrowly in this game, and I think that's where you're seeing in Cameroon someone like Aritoyo coming out down the sideline and being able to find that space behind the U.S. back line. I think the U.S. needs to play a little bit more like that as well. Buried up, not so direct.
Saw Jordan Caniff doing the pressing there for the United States. She played in the 2016 tournament in Jordan. But again, another one of these players that's had a remarkable comeback from a torn ACL, and here she is in the starting lineup. U.S. trying to make something happen here. And Cameroon's going to get a free kick here. Fury is the player down for the Lionesses. By the way, the U.S. have never won the Under-17 World Cup. That's just a reminder. We've won, obviously the U.S. has won 3 Women's World Cups at the senior level, 3 at the Under-20 level. But the U-17 pedestal is missing. So how much of that is the story here? I mean, obviously this is about accelerating player development.
Sure.
But how much of that is the story here in this tournament for the U.S.? Not looking too far ahead, but obviously, it is a tournament they have come to win.
I think there's a balance. There's obviously that notion of being the first to win, creating history for the U.S. But that's where Mark Carr's really tried to keep them focused one game at a time. And really, that's going to help them be successful and get to those final stages. So it's really a balancing act right now.
Tricks and flicks here from Cameroon. Good defensive work there from Maya Doms. And she tried to pick out that run there from Peyton Linehan. The U.S. are not being given a lot of time to get their head up on the ball here. And Cameroon reaping benefits from it. And they'll play this to the top of the box here. Trying to get to it was Unga, who's had their best chance. One of their best chances.
And one of the reasons why I think it's so important for the U.S. to possess right now, it just allows the opportunity to move more players forward. We're only seeing players like Linehan or Fontes being the only players, sole forwards up there. They've got 3 forwards in this lineup. So being able to hold the ball a little bit longer allows the team to advance further up the field.
Been a lot of industrious defending here from the United States. McKenna Morris, you see there, number 2 for the U.S., clearing 2 balls off the line in succession. There's a give and go here. Chance to get delivery in towards the near post. Speared out. It'll be a corner for Cameroon here. Some good defensive work again from Natalie Stode. She's been very busy in the middle as a center back in this.
And she really is the anchor of that defense back there. So big game for her.
3 players lined up on the 6. Some man-to-man marking here. This is a corner that's not going to work out for Cameroon, but the U.S. still haven't gotten it cleared. The Lionesses will knock this one into the box. U.S. having a hard time getting out of their 18 and easily handled here by Angelina Anderson.
And you can see the ball just being held up a little bit right there. There is some wind right now, so that's playing a little bit of a factor for this defense right now.
Yeah, good point. And in the 70s in Uruguay. Mark Carr, the U.S. coach, saying evolution of the game. In the past, we got through on athleticism. Now you have to have collective thinking. This big line is the team is the superstar, but it's also in recognition of how countries like Cameroon are accelerating their development.
That's right. The collective thinking and also the ability to have that diversity of styles to compete against any type of team they come up against. But it's so amazing to see the development of different countries. U.S. historically has been so successful at the highest levels, but to see other countries at this youth level being able to help support their women and develop their programs, you're going to see this becoming more of an impact even later on, years to come.
And to counter that with Cameroon, 7 of 11 of their starters in the second leg of their qualifying match against Nigeria were in Jordan. So this is an experienced Cameroon as well. It's a chance for number 2 for the U.S. And with the right hand, Onomo coming up with a huge save here in the 40th minute. Just got her right hand out there and was able to corral it. U.S. trying to get that possession game going here. Sophia Jones battling it out there in midfield for the U.S. Cameroon trying to push it forward here now. Been a lot of good moments from Fatimatu. She goes down. Shot down at the halfway line. There's players tumbling everywhere. U.S. were trying to play a quick free kick. Peyton Linehan was fouled.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they weren't able to play that free kick there. This would have been a 1v1 situation.
The fact that they were looking for it, though, at this level was something incredibly positive to me.
Yeah, and I think it was Fontes up there at the top. You could just see she was trying to pull herself back onside to be able to receive that ball. Great recognition.
So Dabda now has picked up a yellow. Chanko has one as well for that.
Yeah. And I like that move by the referee because that's getting a little dangerous. The stud's coming up.
Meanwhile, Fatimatu getting some work on that.
Hopefully she's okay because really the majority of Cameroon's attack has been coming through Fatimatu. And here's a look of what happened right before the goal was scored off of that corner kick. You can see the defender down in the box for Cameroon. But really just the ability to stay with it created this opportunity, and there's no one there for Cameroon. And as you said, Glenn, keeping her onside. Fontes was able.
I'm not even sure the back three for Cameroon knew that she was down because they held a very tight line.
Right. No, absolutely. But
this is the difference.
To officials' credit, she stayed with it, put that one back away, and again, until that whistle is blown, you have to stay with that play. And really, at this level, that concentration, you love to see a U-17 player having that concentration and to miss the first one, but to stay with it and put that follow-up shot away.
The official, the 22nd minute, the United States a 1-0 lead over Cameroon here in the 43rd. He's been stopped and started a little bit with fouls in this one, so it's been tough to develop a personality or sort of a rhythm here.
So there's a lot of stoppage, a lot of talking with the referee right now, so it's definitely very disruptive.
Staude. Good ball. Here's Peyton Linehan. Dealing with that physical power and strength that Cameroon has. Jones with the outside of her foot and doesn't connect. Linehan was getting herself back on side. Over the top it goes here. The U.S. have a chance to get a second. There's an empty net. It goes off the post. Player down at the top of the box for the U.S. is Domes. But there have been some strange sequences in this game here today.
Very bizarre. And again, referee looking to her AR to get clarity on what happened in the situation. For the U.S. hitting the post again in that follow-up. I believe it was Jordan Caniff who had that follow-up shot after Maya Doms went down.
And I believe, based on our feed here, let's see. I'm not sure if she just called a penalty.
So outside the box handball by the goalkeeper. I think that's what the call was, but then it would be outside the box.
Yeah, she could be sent off here.
Oh,
Yeah, her leg goes across the chest of Maya Doms. Consulted with her linesman and
Reckless play. Wow.
That is reckless.
And perhaps the U.S. a little bit lucky because the contact does seem to be right outside of the box. So to get that penalty, I'm not sure if they're awarding a penalty kick or if it's just a free kick right outside the box, but definitely a yellow card being issued to Anomo, the goalkeeper.
Wow, that to me is a sending off.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's anything other than that. And if it's not a sending off, Cameroon is no, she has been sent off. That yellow was issued to someone else.
Okay. Yep.
So let's see what happens here with Cameroon, who's got Fennel Karras and Olga Engel-Esse as backup goalkeepers.
Give credit to the referees and the AR as well to catch that live. We had the replay to be able to see it, but definitely a clear red card with that type of foul.
Women's game does not have VAR, video assistant, in play at any level. Florence Fanta has also picked up a yellow. That's 3 players carrying yellows now. Cameroon now will play with 10 the rest of the way. And one of the questions about Cameroon coming in was obviously the discipline side of the game here. And they have had some reckless challenges here today. And in the end, it's going to really hurt them. And go Esse warming up here.
We're talking about the disruption. This is definitely something where these players need to refocus here.
This has not been one of the most fluid halves of soccer we've ever seen.
No. And also just it's taking obviously the goalkeeper change is going to take a little bit more time, but really that transition time has been quite long in my opinion.
I'm going to take this in a different direction. Has Casey Reibel been in command here? Because earlier in this match, you talked a little bit about the fact that she was maybe over-talking it to players.
Well, I just think that the referees have been very present.
So we have to remove one. Oh, yeah, okay, well then you show the numbers like normal. Yeah, the whole day we take out.
Yeah, they need to give us
Yeah.
And
And then you show it. Hey, hey.
Well, they're still waiting for goalkeeper to make her way on.
She's
Ingo Esse.
waiting, called on. Now she's finally making it onto the field. But yeah, definitely the transition time has been very long. Don't typically allow a lot of time for a warm-up for a player to come in.
So Esse comes on for Diane Sinji, also known as Chanko. And upon her entrance is going to have to face the United States in a dead ball situation here.
I mean, how about this? Being subbed into the match and then getting a penalty kick as your first play in the goal as a goalkeeper for Cameroon.
So they did award a penalty. Sunshine Fontes will come up to take it. 20 goals in 2018 for the U.S. with a chance to give them a second goal here on the stroke of halftime. Windy, breezy conditions here in Uruguay. Fontes with a nice cold penalty, a wonderful finish. The United States now up 2-0 over Cameroon.
Definitely providing a little bit of drama for the end of this first half. But Fontes stepping up, cool, calm, and collected. Just a nice textured ball, using the inside of that right foot to get to the far corner, way past Ingo Esse, having no chance of stopping that. Nice strike, nice penalty kick, and great concentration after all of this time to just sit there and think about that shot.
To be up a pair here in a game that's been kind of chaotic, you've been under pressure, at times maybe a little uncomfortable. It's a good sign for the U.S. and Mark Carr.
That's a great sign. Great sign for that mentality.
And with that, the half comes to an end here. The United States getting a 22nd minute goal from the official, getting a stoppage time penalty kick from striker Sunshine Fontes as a 2-0 lead here over Cameroon in Group C.